Alright, we're coming in with another tier list. This time I'm doing Trails in the Sky First Chapter, the very original. My personal favorite game in the series, perhaps now behind the remake. This game holds a very special place in my heart. I know, just like the remake, that you don't get a lot of opportunities to customize your party. You might think a tier list for a game like this, where it's such a small cast and it's so streamlined, is useless and pedantic, and I get that, okay? But I set out in the beginning of this series to do every single Trails game and do a character power ranking analysis, so that's what I'm doing here. If you don't think there's any point to it or it's not your cup of tea, I totally get it. For everybody else, welcome home. This is Nick BRPG. Here I talk about turn-based RPGs and JRPGs as some of my personal favorites. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's jump right into the good stuff and talk about Trails in the Sky First Chapter Character Power Analysis. Alright, so we're doing Trails in the Sky First Chapter. Again, like I said on my intro, you don't get a ton of opportunity to customize your party until the very end of the game, so you might think that the end of the game is where this tier list matters the most. I would agree with you on that point, and therefore I will weight the characters based on how good they are at the end of the game, more so than how good they are throughout the game or when you might have access to them intermittently. While I do have a tier list here, I will also be ranking them in order from 8th to 1st. So if you think it's kind of pointless to have such a small cast put on a tier list, you could also just think of this as a rank ordering. This list will function the exact same way, that way. Alright, let's dive right in. And coming in at 8th place, and the only C tier character in this game, it's Tita. Tita has just a lot of problems, and I imagine they probably made her weaker canonically because she is, right? She's a child and everybody else here is an experienced fighter, so fair enough. But what are Tita's problems? For starters, she's a bad caster, and the original Trails in the Sky is definitely a caster's paradise. Spoiler alert, casters definitely do better in this game than strikers do. I don't make the rules, it's just the meta. So that's our first problem. She has a bad quartz line, she's not a very good caster, she has weak overall attributes, and to be honest, unlike the remake where I actually, and later games too, where I think she has a pretty good craft line, in this game, her craft line isn't great. Even her healing support craft is just completely outclassed by Olivier's, and Olivier has a lot of other things going for him. So yeah, Tita is, I think, bad enough mechanically that she goes in her very own C tier on this list. Coming in at 7th place, and I had to brush up on this game, to be honest. It's been a long time since I played the original first chapter, but I did. I messed around with my file, and I was actually kind of blown away with how weak I think he is mechanically. In 7th place, and at the bottom of the B tier, it's Agate. Now, again, I said this is a caster's paradise, so he's already behind in that sense, because Agate is not a good caster. But to make matters worse for him, Agate's really kind of good signature trick that really does work for him in later games is his rage, right? Where he can boost up his CP, S-break, and devastate enemies. The problem is, in this game, it only gives him 50 CP, and to be honest with you, that's just not enough. You need more CP to get the value that you need out of that to S-break more often. More often than not, you'll need 2 turns of raging per S-break, and that is just not turn efficient, especially again in this game where arts are doing devastating damage, and where in this game, if you're not Joshua, your S-craft is probably only hitting 1 target. Area is much harder to place in this game. Agate just does not outperform, I would say, Joshua as a striker or the others who can bring more utility and casting. He comes in at the bottom of B tier, 7th place. Coming in next in the B tier is our main character, Estelle Bright. Estelle just has this chronic all-rounder problem in the early games, where she's designed to be an all-rounder, and in my opinion, generalists are generally worse than specialists, especially since when you're looking at utility, arch users just blow non-arch users out of the water. Now, I wouldn't call Estelle a bad arch user, but I would call her a worse one than Kloe, than Olivier, than Scheherazade, and Joshua, right? So she's in the lower half of the pack. Her orbment's a little funky because it's got 2 lines that are almost evenly spaced out. Again, you can get some good spells with her, especially since she has no forced quartz. That is nifty, but she's not a great caster. I would say her morale is a pretty good support buff if you are going a striker route. Definitely great in the early mid game to especially power up Joshua, who's flickering the enemies and keeping them delayed and stuff. Again, later on, I think arch strategies are more potent, and Estelle certainly suffers from that. For all of these reasons, I couldn't put her any higher than 6th place. Closing out the B tier in 5th place is Xin. Now, Xin has a lot of things going for him. He has an outstanding self buff, which hikes his strength and defense. His taunt, unlike Joshua's and Estelle's, taunts the entire screen, and Xin, more so than them for sure, has the bulk to back that up and to actually want to draw hate. So I have to say that this is effective and it is useful. He has a healing craft on top of that, and his offensive crafts do devastating damage. It's really actually kind of surprising how hard he outclasses Agate in this game. I would say Zin's biggest problem is that he's slow. He's also not an arch user, which is why he's this far down on the list, frankly. So yeah, if you really want a good tank and striker, go with Xin. He's outstanding, but in my opinion, if you're playing well, you really shouldn't need a dedicated tank, and arts will win the day. So thus, he comes in B tier in 5th place. Alright, coming in now at the bottom of our A tier, and in 4th place, for me, it's Olivier. This one might be a hot take, right? Because I said this is an arts caster's game, and Olivier is arguably the best caster in this entire game, right? He has the best quartz line. It's a single line with only 1 Mirage restriction, which is barely a restriction at all. Back to the very high ATS score, and I would say, yeah, Olivier is an outstanding character. But I think that the other 3 characters who are higher than them on this list just have some other things going for them that push them ahead of Olivier. Still, if you really like Olivier canonically, like I do, you can't go wrong with him. He's a fantastic mage. He has an impede on his craft, which is really good. He has, I would say, a decent healing craft, although for the most part you're better off healing through arts, which he is certainly more than capable of doing himself. Yeah, really strong character. I think the other characters out-edge him for some of their other utility functions, and we'll talk about them now. The only other character who I put in the A tier at the top of A tier, for me, it's Kloe. I expect this might be a hot take because Kloe is really good. She has a strength and defense debuff that she can apply on most targets, which is really, really good. She has an impede, very nice to have, especially on a mage. She has a 1-line orbment, which is very good for mages, although hers has the very painful 3 water restriction. Still, even with this, you should be able to get some very good ice attack magics on her, very good heals, and a couple of other choice spells, because again, it's a single orbment line. So it's a restriction, but it doesn't totally limit her as a mage. She's still a very good mage. And you add to all of this that she has the only support S-break in the entire game. It's a very good S-break. It picks your party back up. It heals them. It's an amazing defensive safety net if you need it. I could accept an argument that Kloe is higher, but because I prefer to win the fight by controlling it and not giving the enemy a chance to hurt me in the first place, I split the difference and I put her at the top of A tier. Coming in 2nd place and at the bottom of our S tier, for me it's Scheherazade. Scheherazade is a very competent caster. She does have 2 forced wind slots, and she has not a perfectly straight orbital line, but almost. So she should be able to access some very powerful magic, some heals if you want them. But in addition to being a good mage, to me it's all about that Heaven's Kiss. Heaven's Kiss and turn acceleration is just always a very powerful option in Trails games. And in this particular game, it's really cheap. I forget, it costs like 20 or 30 CP. It's not that expensive at all. So basically, Shara can, depending on how you're positioned, basically get 3 turns for her 1 every single time she plays. It's completely bonkers. It's very broken. And for that, on top of her being a good mage, yeah, I think she's an S tier character. Is this a hot take? I don't know. I think Shara is very, very strong in the original Trails in the Sky first chapter. And by elimination, and again doing it twice in a row for me, the best character in the game at the top of S tier, for me it's Joshua. Just like Estelle, he's a forced party member, you're stuck with him all game long. But unlike Estelle, he's really, really, really good in my opinion. He's a very good striker, even though I said this is an arts caster's paradise. For one, his dual strike is just always a good single target damage option. For two, his Black Fang S-Craft hits everything. And in this particular game, that is something to write home about because enemies do space out sometimes. And most of the S-Crafts in this game don't actually have a very good area of effect. So being able to hit everything is something when there are multiple targets that you want to try to drop. In addition to all of that, he has Flicker, which is a ranged attack craft with delay. Delay in Trails in the Sky first chapter is very strong. It works on a lot of bosses, and it really does keep you in control of the fight through turn economy. It's really, really good. And to top all of that, Joshua is a perfectly capable mage. He likes time magic, right? Get him Hellgate, get him White Gehenna, maybe a couple of choice elemental spells, some buffs, and he's a very good mage on top of everything else he brings to the table. And I forgot to say, he's also the fastest character in the game. Turn economy, we already went over that. It's the thing to do. So you roll all of that up, and in my opinion, yeah, I think Joshua is the best character in Trails in the Sky first chapter. I don't think that's a hot take. I think the community is aware of how good he is. So yeah, that closes out our tier list here. How do you guys think I did? I know you guys always like to duke it out with me in the comments. It's actually become something that I've really come to love about these tier lists, and I'm gonna miss when I'm done with this Trails tier list series. But tell me what I missed. Who did I underrate? Who did I overrate? Who would you put where? I love to hear about it all in the comments below. And coming up next will be Trails in the Sky second chapter, a bigger cast than this, and I'm looking forward to getting into that. And until then, this is Nick BRPG. If you like this video, consider giving me a like and a sub. I'm a brand new YouTuber, and the support means a lot to me. Otherwise, thank you so much, and I'll catch you in the next one.